Quadratic equations. An equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c are constants, and a is not equal to 0, is a quadratic equation. Examples of quadratic equations are 1, 4x squared is equal to 9x minus 2. 2, x squared is equal to 6x. 3, minus 64 is equal to minus x squared. These are examples of quadratic equations. Quadratic equations are described as equations of the second degree. Why? Because the highest power of the variable is 2. So the highest power here is 2, highest power 2, highest power 2. So these are quadratic equations. Quadratic equations have two answers. The answers of quadratic equations are called roots of the quadratic equation or solutions of the quadratic equation. We have numerous methods for solving quadratic equations. These include 1. Factorization method. 2. Formula method. 3. Completing of squares method. 4. Graphical method, and so on. Factorization method. Type 1. The factorization method of a quadratic equation is of this form. So let's look at the first question. Solve the equation. Here, you have this expression multiplying this expression, making the product 0. So it tells you that either this is 0, making the product 0, or this is 0, making the product 0. So we solve them individually. So let's solve this. This crosses the equal to sign minus 2. So we divide both sides by 3. X is equal to minus 2 over 3. Here, grouping of like terms, we have 2x. This crosses the equal to sign, gives us positive 3. We divide both sides by 2. X is equal to 3 on 2. So we say, therefore, the roots of this quadratic equation are x is equal to minus 2 over 3 or 3 over 2. Type 2 of the quadratic equation is of this form. Okay, so solve this equation. Before you solve quadratic equation, you have to equate the equation to 0. So let's equate this to 0 and let's solve. So we bring all this here, it becomes 4x squared. This crosses the equal to sign, minus 9x. This crosses, it becomes positive 2 is equal to 0. So now we can solve. How do we solve such a quadratic equation using the factorization method? We have to multiply the variable square term by the constant term. So in this case, when we multiply, we get 8x squared. That's the 8x squared. So the next step is that we look for two factors of 8x squared, which when we simplify, it will give us this middle number. In this case, it is minus 9x. So we have numerous factors of 8x squared. So this is one of the factors. But when we simplify this, it is going to give us 6x, and that is not right. When we simplify this, it's going to give us minus 6x. No. When we simplify this, it's going to give us 9x. But when we simplify this, it's going to give us minus 9x. So this pair of factors satisfy this. So we rewrite this. In place of this, we bring those two factors, minus x, minus 8x, plus 2 is equal to 0. Then we pick these in pairs and factorize. So here we factorize x. So we have 4x here, minus 1. Here we factorize minus 2. So when we factorize minus 2, here becomes positive 4x, and then here becomes minus 1. So what do we notice here? We see that the terms in the brackets are the same. So we maintain one of those terms, 4x minus 1. Open another bracket to multiply. The terms outside the bracket, we introduce them here. Minus 2 is equal to 0. Now, we are multiplying this and getting 0. So again, we say that either 4x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 equal to 0. 4x, this crosses, we get is equal to 1. We divide by 4, x is equal to 1 on 4. Or x is equal to, this crosses, 2. So you say, therefore, the root of the quadratic equation is equal to 1 over 4 or 2. Let's solve another question under the type 2. So here, let's equate this quadratic equation to 0. So this comes here, becomes 3x squared. This crosses minus 8x. 5 is already there and it is positive. Positive 5 is equal to 0. So the first step, let's multiply the variable square term with the constant term. It's going to give us 15x squared. So let's look for the factors of 15x squared, which when we simplify, it will give us the middle term here, which is minus 8x. So the required factors are 3x squared, minus 3x minus 5x plus the 5 is equal to 0. So let's pick them in pairs and factorize. So we factorize 3x. So here becomes x minus 1. Here we factorize minus 5. So here becomes x, positive x, and here becomes minus 1. The terms in the bracket are the same. We maintain one of it, x minus 1. Open another bracket to multiply. We introduce ones outside the bracket. Is equal to 0. So we say either x minus 1 is equal to 0, or 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. So we say x is equal to, this crosses 1. 3x is equal to, this crosses positive 5. We divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 5 on 3. So we say, therefore, the roots of these quadratic equations are x is equal to 1, 5 over 3. Type 3 of quadratic equation is of this form. So let's solve this equation. So we are to equate this to 0. We are bringing this here. It becomes x squared. And then we already have minus 64x here is equal to what? 0. Now, what do we do? There's a factor x here, so let us factorize. So we factorize x, and this gives us x minus 64 is equal to 0. So we say either x here is equal to 0, or x minus 64 is equal to 0. So x is equal to, we send this to the other side, becomes 64. So we conclude that the roots of these quadratic equations are 0 or 64. One more question under the type 3. So let's equate to 0. 5x squared. This crosses, it becomes minus 50x is equal to 0. Here we factorize 5x. So here becomes x minus 10 is equal to 0. So we say either 5x is equal to 0, or x minus 10 is equal to 0. So here we divide both sides by 5. So x is equal to 0 on 5. X is equal to 0. X is equal to, this crosses 10. So we conclude by saying, therefore, the roots of this quadratic equation, x is equal to 0, 10. Type 4 of the quadratic equation is of this form. So let's solve this equation. So we are going to equate this to 0. So this comes here, it becomes positive x squared. And then we have minus 64 here being equal to 0. Now this is difference of two squares. So it becomes x squared minus 8 squared is equal to 0. So how do we factorize the difference of two squares? It is always x plus times the x minus being equal to 0. So we say either x plus 8 is equal to 0 or x minus 8 is equal to 0. So you have x is equal to minus 8, x is equal to positive 8. Therefore, the roots of this equation are either minus 8 or 8. Second question under the type 4. Let's equate to 0, x squared. This crosses the equal to sign, becomes minus 49 is equal to 0. This is again difference of two squares. So x squared minus 7 squared is equal to 0. So let's factorize this difference of two squares. X plus 7 times x minus 7 is equal to 0. So you say either x plus 7 equal to 0 or x minus 7 equal to 0. X is equal to, this becomes minus 7, x is equal to plus 7. Therefore, the roots of this equation are minus 7, 7. Subscribe, like, share, and discuss with your friends. Thank you.